You don't even know how to pee anymore. AI can do that for you. So, as many of you know, I've been both a fan and a critic of AI over the last 2 years. I'd say I lean about 60% fan and 40% critic at this point. I made a video, what was it, 3 years ago, when AI was just starting to really rear its head in the creative spaces with image generation, and ChatGPT could kind of talk to you and then it would go psycho. Um, you know, and back then I said this is going to change everything. I could not even fathom it how quickly this has happened. Right now, I'm around people, and everyone from young kids to old people are talking to AI to get their answers, whereas they used to have to Google and actually read and research. Not anymore. Of course, I can't film a video without a visit from the kitty cat. All right, that's enough. Let me work. And as we've seen lately, I've gone over in my previous videos on how AI has pretty much taken over our economy. The market is propped up entirely by AI. We're being cut out as consumers so that the AI companies can feed the hardware companies, so they can feed the AI companies, so they can have one big, wonderful circle jerk together and leave us all out in the cold, shriveled up and with no hardware. As many of you know, Microsoft is the latest criminal in the AI space, of which there are many. We'll go over both the good and the bad today, where I think things are with AI as someone who uses AI, and also hates what the greedy people that are using AI are doing, particularly the big corporations. I find at the bottom of this, we just can't have nice things because greedy people are going to be greedy people no matter what. They're going to claw their way to the top on the backs of the rest of us and ignore the crushing weight of those who are on the first bottom of that pyramid scheme, essentially. It's what our economy's become. It's become a giant pyramid scheme. And I hate to break it to you, but if you're watching this, you're probably at the bottom of that. But I see people asking ChatGPT. I went over to a friend's house and we were playing board games, and something came up as a question, and we were asking AI for the answers. And I myself find myself regularly picking up my phone and talking to Gemini as if it's a person and asking in pretty much a normal tone of voice, normal, as if I was asking a real person, and it giving me a generally usable or good answer, or at least nudging me in the right direction on things to where I could make that extra 20% leap on my own. And that's pretty much what the requirement for using AI is at this point. You can use it as an assistant, but I don't think you should be using it to do everything. In walks Microsoft and says, we're going to make AI take over your fucking computer. Well, I've had enough. I am now de-Microsoft. You see this laptop behind me? I was afraid to put Linux on it. Linux not having AI built in like Mac OS and Windows, but Windows is the worst offender right now. And it's why I'll never touch Microsoft products again as far as operating systems and computers go. But I was afraid to put it on there. I was going to leave Windows on this laptop and saying, well, how bad can it get? So they can spy on me playing Grand Theft Auto 5 Enhanced. Which, by the way, didn't run on any of my Linux machines that I had set up. You know, it didn't run on my handheld, neither did Red Dead Redemption on that. I mean, it would start, but it wouldn't run for shit. Where I know if I had Windows on it, it would run just fine. So Linux isn't 100% there to that, but I couldn't fire up the enhanced edition even on my desktop PC with a 2070 Super in it, and now I'm running it on my brand new laptop on Linux because over the last couple days I was like, you know what, I can't half-ass this. If I'm gonna de-Microsoft my life, I have to just pull the Band-Aid off and see what I miss and see what happens. And so far, I don't miss anything because 99% of what I do is currently working on my laptop. That 1% is apps that don't have any Linux support whatsoever, and that's apps as in productivity stuff. I'm learning that maybe that's a good thing because that keeps me from jumping into these subscriptions for everything and learning to use open source software to accomplish my editing tasks, my 3D graphics tasks. And oh yes, it occurred to me that even though I'm de-Microsofting my life, 90% of games are still made for Microsoft. And at some point, they're going to push you into the cloud so that you have to pay for computing power instead of having it in your house or on a laptop. And you're going to charge you 20, 30, 40 bucks a month, depending on inflation. And that's what's going to happen. And then the only way you're going to have access to games, at least AAA games, is if you go on those platforms because you won't have the hardware to run it locally. You'll have to have a really good internet connection and you'll have to, sorry, the cat again. You'll have to have a really good internet connection and you'll have to pay 30, 40 a month to play pretty games. Now, I'm not okay with that. So I'm learning to make my own games. And I might even turn that into an income or a job at some point. But as I begin my game development journey, again, it's not the first time. Like, I've made games in the past, little throwaway games. I made the game that made fun of Cuomo during the pandemic. I made a game that about a pumpkin rolling down the thing trying to avoid shit emojis, and you know, it was fun. You know, my girlfriend thought that was fun, thinks I should continue to develop that game. But that was on the Unity engine, which I don't want to touch because they're a big corporation, publicly traded, and therefore are doing all the greedy corporate shit to squeeze money out of the people that use it. And as that was demonstrated when they decided to try and gouge every developer retrospectively for downloading shit. They've walked back that due to a huge backlash and a bunch of studios pulling out. But that being said, I don't want anything I'm doing to be owned just because I'm using that platform. You pay the fee so you don't have to. They take a percentage of the sales so you don't have to pay for it. So I went with open source software. Godot is what I'm using to develop. And over the course of the last couple days, I've been learning to use it, learning to code with it. GDScript is like Python for those of you. I know there's some of you watching this that don't give a shit about all of these nerdy things. But needless to say, it's coming pretty close to where I'm seriously thinking I could make a game. But we're talking about AI here. And AI is a big issue in the game space right now because greedy people are doing very low effort asset flipping and using AI to make slop and then posting it on PlayStation, Game Store, Steam, you name it. And just a big pile of computer slop. You know, you pay $5 for this game and it's literally something somebody made in a day. The game that I made over the weekend, I'm going to show you at the end of this video. But yeah, that game is something I did over 2 days with very little knowledge of GDScript. I had basic programming knowledge. I know logic and how things are supposed to flow, and for the most part, I'm not a software engineer. But I have practice, and I did in high school learn a lot about programming as well. So I know the concepts. It's just applying those to the language. So over the weekend, I leveraged AI to learn Godot essentially and make a game in the process. And it's not a great game. But it's way more than I've done in previous attempts. I've done the Unity thing back in the day. Back in high school, I programmed in BASIC. Oh, those were the days. I made a game engine using BASIC for making BASIC games, which was way ahead of my time on that. I should have really pursued it as a career, but math. I'm not good at math. Well, I don't need to be good at math anymore because guess what? We got AI, right? You don't need to be good at anything anymore. You just need to know how to talk to AI and get it to give you what you want. That's it. That's the skill. It's not quite that simple though. So over the weekend, I made this game and I used AI art assets that I was able to get. I'm a subscriber to Krea, which is $35 a month for like 25,000 computing units or whatever. It's basically I'm paying to use their machines to run all these AI APIs, and I use that for my videos. It's trained on me. I use it for some of my intros and thumbnails. I use it all the time for. But I decided, hey, what if I just made assets with it? What can I do? And I was able to get a playable demo done in 2 days. Now that's like game jam times, not impressive, but I'm comparing it not to what else is out there or who talented programmers out there can probably do this without AI. But as somebody who's dumbass like me, I'm sitting here and I'm churning out a playable demo in 2 days on a language I'm just now learning. I'm taking tutorials as I go, and I'm going to be doing classes and stuff like that to learn how to properly do everything, because I don't want AI to just do it all. I need to be able to look at the AI shit and be like, oh, it's wrong there, or reword my prompt in a different way to more get in tune with working together with AI to get my code out quicker and have it be more usable. Or if I hit a snag or I'm stuck, AI was able to dig me out. Now this is Gemini that I'm using, just the free model. I don't pay for a Gemini subscription. It's the same model I have on my phone, by the way. So it's Google's model. They'll monetize it by just taking the data that they get for me using it and selling that data. I'm well aware it's being trained on my voice. It's being trained on how I talk. It's being trained on the things I put into the prompt. It's being trained on code that I copy and paste in. So yeah, I'm helping them, but I'm not paying cash for it unless you count the electric bill that everyone's, that's skyrocketing on everyone. But we're going to pay that anyway, whether you like it or not. So you might as well get something out of the deal is how I look at that. And I'm like, well, it's going to help me code. And I would say what would have took me a month a couple years ago in game development, I can do in 2 days. The same game that I'm going to show you at the end would have taken me almost a month, I would say, is the last game I made without AI. This one, I used as much AI tools as I could. Whenever I ran into a coding issue, I asked Gemini, hey, what's up? How do I do this? I even had it come up with the basis for some things. I would be like, I need a movement script to move this such and such around. I'd describe what I want, and it would give me a script, and I'd plug it into Godot, and lo and behold, the script worked. I had to tweak it here and there, or if it didn't work, I could then take that script back, or just keeping the conversation open, I can just say, well, this happened when I ran that script, and it'll give you an updated one. And it even writes comments into your code to tell you what each section does. So it's kind of teaching you at the same time it's doing the work for you and helping you. And if you pay attention to that, I feel like you'll learn to code pretty quickly. And even if you're not fully like an expert at coding, you'll be able to do most simple programming tasks, which is why you see people getting laid off by the thousands from the tech industry. They don't need entry level dickheads anymore. They need somebody that is smart enough, that utilizes the AI still, but can do the job of 100 coders in a week. AI has that ability, that power. The other thing that I used it for was 2D art assets and rendered cutscenes, which you'll see in there. All the graphics that in what I'm showing you were AI. The only thing I did to the graphics was I would take them into GIMP when I do like a pixel art thing or a 2D sprite. You know, you can even get animated 2D sprite sheets from AI. And I took those and into GIMP and touched them up and got rid of the backgrounds, made sure because it doesn't give you the alphas. I'm sure there's a site that does that though, if I were to shop around, but I'm not looking to spend a lot of money here. So I'm using what I got already, and turns out I could do a little bit of sweat labor in there. I also use Blender for various tasks and will use Blender a lot, but you can in fact get 3D models done by AI now. The texturing work isn't that great, so I'd still probably have to manually do that. But I can create any texture for any, like a wall. Like I need a brick wall. Hey, AI, give me a brick wall. And I can even describe the characteristics of it, and it gives it to you. And then next thing you know, you got assets. All of this used to take a shit ton of time. You either had to go and buy the assets yourself, which you don't really have to do. I feel like, and it sucks because that was a whole industry I was interested in, was just making 3D assets, because I do have a lot of experience with Blender, and Maya is what I did when I was in college briefly, and it was very brief. All of that now is not irrelevant. It's still very useful to learn the 3D software, but you're not going to make a full-time living doing that anymore, when these companies can grab assets off of that. And they might have one artist on board to make sure everything's cool and to maybe fix some of the AI problems. But make no mistake, most of the big company shit that you're going to consume going forward, and a whole lot of independent shit, is going to have AI in it. And I'm going to tell you, if I do get into game development, I'm going to utilize AI. It's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And I'd rather see something good be made with it than the AI slop that you can find in all these places. And that's just giving it a bad name. Now it's going to get to the point where people just won't buy your shit if you utilize any AI. And, what the dirty secret is everyone's using AI. Everybody. And if they're not, they're either lying or they're going to take 5 years to do what other people are doing in a year. And either you get on the bus or you'll get left at the bus stop. That's what the way AI is going as far as any kind of creative media at this point. Photography is going out the window pretty soon. See, I've done various things with AI just as experiments. I took a picture of a stuffed animal on a table and made it run around like it was alive, just as, hey, can it do that yet? And it did it. You could still tell it's AI, but those days aren't going to last forever. We already know, if you scroll on Facebook and YouTube, on the shorts in particular, tons of AI generated content. All the visuals are AI, the narration is AI, and the writing is likely AI. Basically, what those content creators do, they go into a program like ChatGPT or Gemini, and they say, give me a script, for the AI to read about such and such subject, usually based on whatever's popular, whatever the flavor of the month video is. Then they take that, they plug that in and get a vocal reading of that. And then they take that, and there's some sites that you can just plug that in and it will give you the whole fucking video, complete with narration. And now they've got avatars that look human. They look like they're talking, but after like 20 minutes, you figure out that it's AI. And that's another part of it I hate, is it's flooding the market with low effort shit. But I feel like you put this tool in the hands of somebody that is creative and knows what they're doing, and as far as coming up with a good story, a good game concept, somebody that actually merges their creativity with the AI at some point, which I've done, by the way. You've heard various versions of my theme song. I went into Suno and put my theme song, the one that I wrote, that I performed on my, I think it was the MPC mainly I worked on that, but I also have some Ableton stuff. I took that and I threw that in Suno and said, make a cover. And then I would do all kinds of wacky things like make a country cover, make a pop cover, make a Viking cover, make a this cover, make a folk song cover. So I've got like hundreds of different versions of my theme song just by fucking around with that. And I put them sometimes in my videos. And you'll hear those. You've noticed them. Some of you have noticed them over the past couple videos, but I do that. Change it up a bit so I'm not always doing the same shit. Sometimes I bounce between my original intro and AI intros. If I'm feeling froggy and I'm creative, I'll go to the AI and I'll try and come up with an intro that's funny. And I make it so it's kind of obvious that it's AI too. I mean, nobody's looking at my intros or my thumbnails and going, hey, he lost a lot of weight. Turns out AI, you don't need keto. You could just fucking use AI. And then you look great when you live on a screen all the time. But that being said, seeing that I could do all of that with AI, I don't know whether to be inspired or afraid. I feel like I'm late to the party because of all the AI slop that is just skyrocketed in the last 2 years. You can watch the graphs of the amount of games released on Steam, and they're spectacularly high. Meanwhile, it's crickets chirping from AAA developers. And when they do put something out, it's generally low effort slop, as if it was written by woke AI. I don't even feel like people are writing shit anymore. They're just saying, hey, give me a story about this. And then they might go edit it, but let's face it, greedy people don't like wasting lots of time and effort, and that's why you see AI popping up all over the place. AI has the potential to make us very, very fucking lazy, and therefore making anything we produce very, very low quality. As everyone's struggling with inflation and financial markets and all of that shit right now, people are scrambling to get every dollar they can get. And they're using AI to do it. Because AI can make it look like you did something good. But there's people out there that the moment they figure out that you used AI, they'll never touch your products again. Those people are going to have to fucking cope pretty soon, because you watching this video, AI brought you here. AI told you where my channel was, except for those of you who have been subscribed. But if you're not one of my subscribers, which you should fucking subscribe or something, see how this journey goes. But AI brought you to my video, or it didn't. AI didn't told you not to watch my video, and you had to search to find my video. There's any number of scenarios there, but AI definitely was involved. AI made the thumbnail, as I usually do. More than likely, I haven't made it yet, but I'm probably gonna. And AI is doing all of that. Yet, it's not profitable yet. So the money that's being made on AI is all being made by the AI slop creators right now. And the legit creators who use it get punished because they're using it properly, in my opinion. Now, you can go over the ethics of how the AI learned to do what it did, and it did so by scraping the internet of pretty much anything creative ever. That's why they need these data centers and all this other horseshit to keep it going, because they need to make bigger models with more data. And all that data came from people. Well, the fact of the matter is, most artists, you aren't born an artist, all right? You're influenced. You learn by seeing other people's shit, by other creative shit. The game that I made is based on like 3 or 4 different kinds of games that I played. And it's not even a very good version of it. But my point is, everything, like if you look at the video game industry, how many fucking Call of Duties do you have? How many original video games are there? Not a lot. You know why? Because most artists are just looking at other artists, and it takes incredible amounts of time and work and perseverance. So don't get me wrong, I'm not downplaying artists. I'm saying they're angry because this thing not only can do it very quickly, like the time it takes you to type a text prompt, it can figure out how to do your shit, but it can also saturate the market as a bunch of low effort, lazy motherfuckers fill the market with shit so that you sell less or people watch less of your content or listen to less of your shit. For music, like music's overrun with AI as well. And it saturates the market. We only have so much time. Everyone, you, me, only so much time to enjoy shit, to spend listening or watching this video. That time is now competing with something that probably took less time to make than it would take to watch it. And it's also corrupting people who can't spot the AI as well. Because the one thing I've noticed about the AI is even when it's wrong, it is confidently wrong. It will argue with you. And it's really weird. Like, I was asking Gemini something the other day and I knew it was giving me the wrong answer. And I'm like, are you sure about that? And the voice pitch changed. I'm like, that's fucking creepy. It sounds like a little more manic, a little more, are you questioning me? You know, and the voice would shift into this creepy, like horror-like sound. I mean, tell me if you've used any of the AI and you fucking heard this. But sometimes when you know it's wrong and then you point out to it that it's wrong and it'll be like, oh yeah, I can see, and but the voice pitch changes when that happens. And I'm just like, it's kind of creepy and weird. But one of the quirks of dealing with artificial intelligence written by a bunch of dumbasses. If you think about it, these are people that went through all these woke universities and did all of this shit. That's why all the Hollywood shit has bad writing nowadays, is because these are the people that are writing it. These are your software engineers. When you're complaining about a game sucking or not being original or just being woke writing horseshit, it's because these are individuals that graduated from these woke universities and went out to the woke lefty spheres and got the woke lefty job and wrote the woke lefty slop, which is what Netflix is filled with. Hollywood is done, in my opinion. Like, I haven't paid to go out to a movie in I don't know how long now. And that's where we're at. It made low effort, easy content. And it gave these tools to people who have no problem not exercising a creative fucking bone in their body or taking risks, for that matter. That's the other thing. Big corporations aren't taking risks. You're going to get Call of Duty AI warfare pretty soon. It's coming. How many fucking versions of the game we have? Bethesda's going to release Fallout for the 17th time and suck at it. Because why? Because they probably are just using AI. Oh, put this in the AI. We'll slap it in there. Here we go. Oh, it's good to go. We could charge another $49.99 or $80 or whatever the fucking Nintendo is charging. Because I shit you not, we were walking through a place here in Canada and they had $100 Switch 2 games on the shelf. And I went through a GameStop. We were looking for a gift. And yeah, no Switch 2 in my future. Plus, I kind of already have this, which is got Linux on it now and does everything I need it to do game-wise, that I don't need to fucking pay Nintendo their money to own nothing and be happy. I got it all right there, and I got a hard drive backup of everything. So how do you like that? And that's one of the things that you can do to combat this, is don't let them have full control. And that also includes in your habits. I find myself, and I catch myself doing it, relying on AI a little too much. Like asking AI lots of questions. Whenever I basically want to know something, I'm no longer Googling. I don't know how Google's making money. Well, because they're the AI. But it makes sense to kind of ask the AI that's owned by the company I was asking shit to begin with, and their algorithm used to just fuck with you by ranking sites and different things, and you'd have to go through 2-3 sites to get to the real shit. Well, now you don't got to do that anymore. They got AI. will tell you the top ranking thing that somebody paid them for their AI to tell you is the answer. Keep that in mind. There's nothing. You should got to look at all of this shit through the lens of: is it real? Is it fucking with me? Is it telling me the truth? And sometimes don't do anything that jeopardizes your life based on what AI tells you. But that being said, I can see how it's not going anywhere. And the reason it's not going anywhere is precisely what I did. Be able to sit down with very little knowledge of a game engine, brand new, which, by the way, Godot is a open source. You own 100% of everything you create on it. So if I sell a game for $10, guess what? Other than the 30% cut that Steam would take if I sold it on Steam or something, then that would be the profit I would make on whatever that is. The problem is, it's a bunch of slop to compete with. And as more and more people are getting angry about the slop, the marketplace is going to probably flag anybody that uses any AI and just not give you algorithmic support, leaving all the marketing to you, essentially. They'll still let you sell your fucking slop, your game, but if you used an AI texture, guess what? And you got to probably specify it now. And when you specify it, it's probably just not going to pump you up unless you can generate the marketing yourself first. And then maybe they'll put your game in front of eyeballs. But largely, if you use AI in your projects, you're probably going to have to do your own guerrilla marketing for your game if you make a game. That's what I'm seeing the downside of. If I use AI, it's going to generate some more labor when it comes to marketing. So when I'm looking at AI now, I'm like, I don't want it to control my life, which is why I got rid of Microsoft, and I'll probably make the cut on many other things in my life, but I'm pretty well down to the wire now. Now that I've taken Microsoft off of all my computers, none of my computers, the only mainstream big corporation in charge of my computers right now is Apple. I have a MacBook Pro M5. And I use that as my daily driver now. So, all my video editing, my music production, that kind of stuff I do on there. But I'm fully aware that at any time Apple could lose their minds like Microsoft, because it's, the same kind of people running the fucking shit, and decide suddenly that AI needs to do everything on my computer for me. Well, I don't want that. I want to use AI when I want to use AI. I don't want it shoved up my ass and then taken over all my life. I don't. Yeah, it's great. You got this new toy, corporations, and you're playing with it. And you're passing it around to all your friends, your rich fucking friends that are way up in the fucking stratosphere of income space, leaving all of us plebs down here fighting over the last memory chip. But you're going to get tired of that. You're going to get tired of passing around the same dollar, and you're going to want some of our dollars. Maybe. I don't know. I think we're at the point where they don't need us anymore. I still stand by that. But I'm seeing some cracks in their armor. As in, there's going to be a bubble that pops. And not all the AI is going to go away when that happens, by the way. It's just going to do the same thing the .com bubble, where all the crap gets flushed down the toilet and the nice shit floats to the top and doesn't make it into the little swirly hole. That's what I think is going to happen when the AI bubble bursts. You're going to see trillions of dollars get erased from the market. And it's probably going to be mostly us retail that are still in there. They're going to suffer from that. Because let's face it, the insiders know. They know when their shit's going to be flushed. And they get out ahead of it, and they still sail on golden parachutes off into the sunset, to land on the deck of their 4-story yacht that we all built for them. So that's Grand Theft Auto Enhanced running on the laptop. That when I saw that and it worked. Now I have an MSI Stealth 18 in case you're taking notes, with an RTX 4080 NVIDIA card in it. That's been my computer for about almost 2 years now. I bought it way back when I was in the truck on the road to replace. Right around when it came out. So if you look up when it came out, that's probably around when I bought it. And it's what I brought out on the road to do everything. And it sucked at doing audio because it would crackle and give me all kinds of problems, even though it was the fastest hardware at the time that I could get a laptop, without spending $5,000. Well, I was worried it was going to be shit, and yet here we are running Linux. And I can tell you that all the games that I play, they work on there. I don't know how they did it. I don't know if they put a patch through in the past couple weeks that made everything work that wasn't working on my other machines. But the problem with Linux, before you go flushing Microsoft completely out of your life, I don't want anyone to blame me if they do it and they can't do all their shit, because Linux is pretty old school. It's like having Windows 95 again as far as hardware goes, meaning you have to have the drivers for the hardware. And if you buy a fancy smancy laptop, they have to have already, somebody in open source world has had to have made the drivers. And a lot of Linux community is against NVIDIA's drivers, which I don't blame them. I plan to make the full switch to, when this laptop dies, AMD will be my graphics card of choice from that point forward. But let's face it, this should last me. The tech I have should last me till I die. I have no plans on chasing the 4K mythical creature games with the prettiest fucking Unreal Engine 5 horrible use of computer resources to play the same game that you played 10 years ago, but you can now see your breath and the fucking God rays and global illumination and ray tracing and all of the horse shit that makes absolutely zero difference to gameplay and can all be cheatingly done. As if you play retro games now, they're just as fun as before all of this graphical horse shit came out. In fact, some of them are more fun, are just better games timelessly. And in my game development, I plan on making games in that style, in the style of the games I used to love. Not this, how many different versions of first-person shooters can we make with different skins with the same fucking gameplay? Oh, we're adding loot to it now. Oh, you can level up and put camo on your gun. Yay! No, it's still a fucking, you're shooting a bullet out of a fake gun at a target. You can actually program a thing in a day using assets that people have already made. You can just look up Quake first-person shooter asset and plug that right in, drop that right into your game. That's not using AI. That's going, you're paying the guy that made that, and then you plop it in your game. Guess what? You never have to write code on how to make that game anymore. You can just make art assets and flip them over and over and over and over and over again. Kind of like they do now. Now you take the companies that have been using that playbook over the years and you hand them, here's some AI. Yeah, here you go, motherfucker. Make more slop. They were making slop before AI fucking got in here. All right? That's why my gaming went from being, I became more casual. I'd say I'm somewhere in between now because I've got this manic thing to try and see what games work on Linux and all that kind of stuff, and I'm testing them out and I'm starting to play games again more frequently. But now I've already put some games down in favor of development, learning development, being productive, getting back into Blender, doing all of these things that are creative that I might never be able to market because AI can do it like that. Or I have to compete in a market that is filled with that and somehow claw my way out of the algorithmic fucking ocean and pop my head up above the water long enough that people say, oh, he made that, let's go get that. Oh wait, there's an AI texture, fuck him. And that's where we're at. So it is what it is there. I don't know, I'm probably shooting myself in the foot before I start here, but I'm not just doing it to potentially be a source of income in the future of my semi-retirement, which would be nice because you can really develop from anywhere. You got a laptop, you can sit in Starbucks and make a fucking $1 million game if you don't suck. But I also enjoy it. And one thing I will say about coding and development and 3D graphics and all of these creative things I do, they suck my brain in completely, as in I don't think about all the bullshit, all the politics, all the fucking ways that corporations are fucking us, all this stuff that's been driving me bonkers especially when I was on the road and I had nothing but time and brain power, because you don't use all your brain power. There's a reason that there's people out there that don't know how to drive that are driving trucks. There's not a lot of brain power involved in it. And I have that extra bandwidth to think about how fucking shitty the world is, all while trying to not die. Well, when I'm doing coding and that kind of stuff, I'm immersed in it. People will talk to me and I won't hear them. That's how much of my fucking bandwidth it uses as far as my brain goes. And that's even with the assistance of AI. So basically, the way I'm using AI, I've pretty much described it to you. Use it to assist you, but don't trust it. Know that anything you use AI for, someone else is getting their data. They're not giving you free shit. There is no free shit. I have free Gemini on my phone. You think that fucking thing ain't listening to me? Or when I turn the camera feature on, that it isn't recording all of that? Absolutely. They're making money off of that. They're using it to train their algorithms. They're using it to market products to you. They're using it to all kinds of shit. And this is only beginning. Pretty soon AI will know you and try and push products to you, not because it's the right answer, but because it's what somebody paid Google to fucking do. And it probably doesn't take much to train their AI to say, hey, when someone asks you this, maybe that's this. That's where we're at with the whole AI thing. So now let me talk about the game I made, and I'll show it to you as I'm talking. So the game I made is called The Tank. I put my little intro at the beginning, and then I used one of the stills from some of the AI videos I made inside the game. And I came up with this. I did the title, and then I made a little start button to click. And now it's basically the object of the game is to essentially try and get past the soldiers. If you encounter a soldier, an auto-resolve battle happens, kind of like what you see in a lot of mobile RPG games and that kind of stuff. And a little battle calculates, and you watch it play out. And these videos are essentially AI videos I made for, using Kriya. And the music in the background, that's my music. I have an extensive library of music at this point. And then whatever is left of my health is there. And after each encounter, I become a little bit more powerful. And there's also, I haven't finished a lot of the assets I want to put in here, but sometimes up here, a supply truck will spawn, and that'll increase my health and my power. And you see that tank over there? That's going to be like the boss. So if I go and fight him now, it's probably going to kick my ass. So let's go do that. And that's the boss tank. And basically, the damage bonus I have, the object is to kill all the other assets in the game, like the soldiers and tanks or whatever else I fucking put in, until I'm powerful enough to beat this guy. And I'm also going to put things that make you weaker here and there. It's fun stuff. It's something I'll toy around with. But it's already in a playable state at this point. I just got to keep adding some shit to it. And a victory screen. I haven't done a victory screen yet. So, but yeah, and then when you lose, you got the game over screen. And when I saw I could do that, like a whole bunch of ideas have come to me. Like, I think of all of the old school games that I currently get joy out of going back and playing, with the shitty graphics they had, but the mechanics of the game were solid enough that I enjoy them now. Some examples are like Lands of Lore, for example, is a RPG that came out way back. I think I forget what year it was. 91, 90, 89, somewhere in there. I think it was 91, if I want to. 91 or 92, maybe. I don't know. It was in the mid 90s at some point. And it was before like EverQuest and World of Warcraft and all that kind of shit came out. But it was a great, it's one of the few RPGs in my youth that I played all the way through. And it had a huge budget. It had voice acting. and it had cutscenes, these animated cutscenes when you would talk to some characters, and then they had these environments. And I look at that now, and I'm like, now I can do that. And that's what that ultimately me making that was supposed to be testing is how many video assets can I load at a time. I got to clear it out with different scenes, and then I have a game manager over the top of it to remember everything in between scenes and that kind of stuff. And I'm basically fleshing out for making a game. Ultimately, I want to make a game similar to that style of RPG that we don't see anymore, because everybody is busy making Elden Ring or Skyrim for the 50th time with a new, let's update our textures to 8K now. Yeah, it's great now. It makes the game so much fucking better. No. I want to be able to essentially make a game, write a good story, and I won't be using AI for the story writing part. Because what fun is that? I want to create a world, make an RPG, and I want to use kind of a similar style to that a solo developer like myself would have taken years to do before, but now you see, aside from the people that are going to look at some of these assets and be like, wait a minute, that's AI, fuck you, give me my money back, bitch. There's those, but they won't appreciate how it's integrated with the things I want to do, that it made it possible for me as a solo developer with very little experience, by the way. I wouldn't say very little. I definitely have at least a couple years of programming and definitely over 10 years of 3D graphics experience, and I still suck. But I don't need to be good at 3D graphics anymore because I can make an entire rendered cutscene using AI now. No more sitting there trying to make a Blizzard fucking cut screen, which, let's face it, AI will never master that. And this was Blizzard North, not the Microsoft-owned shit show that is Blizzard today. But they used to be famous for their 3D cutscenes that they used to do, which were theater quality. Like, I would have watched a whole movie done with that back in the day. But now we have all of that at our fingertips as an individual. So when you're starting out as a solo developer now, theoretically, you're like a team of 3 or 4, 5 even, with music being a nice, these are all things that usually you needed separate people to do. You needed separate people to make your graphics. You needed separate artists to come up with all your game art. And it's still a lot of curation involved in, you just don't go in AI and it gives you what you want right away. You got to sit there and fuck with the prompt and really curate what's good, what's pleasing to you, and what's not. And the reason you spot a lot of AI slop is they don't fucking do that. They grab the first thing that comes out because it's cheaper to grab the first thing that comes out as far as electricity costs and all that shit go. And then they slap that in there and they don't even pay attention to if there's lots of errors in it. Like, is there 6 fingers? Is there 7 fingers? Stuff like that you could easily catch if you just look at it enough. And when you play test the game, you got to look at it a lot. And then you got to give it to other people who are going to look at it because you don't spot everything. That's my thoughts. I know it's one of the manic things of the moment for me. I've tried so many creative endeavors over the years and learned a lot of skills, but never followed through to make a lot of them become my thing. Obviously, photography, I got to be a professional photographer. And that's something that I started with no knowledge of. And I originally started to be a photographer back then because I bought a nice camera, that I could make good, solid, high quality textures with. Something I don't need to do anymore because you can just make textures with AI. And took some normal pictures with it, and people were impressed with those because I would put them up on social media, and people were impressed with those and asked me if I would do pictures for them. And then one thing led to another, and then I dedicated a good solid year of my life to getting to know everything about photography, including what kinds of equipment. Eventually, I started to snowball my equipment, as in I would make a bunch of money with one camera, then I would sell it and buy the next one up, and and just kept doing all of that until 2020 when it all fucking collapsed. And now everyone's got their phones and their AI, and you won't even know if the wedding shit you're watching's real. Which is sad, I think. But that's the way it is. And I tried to get into stock photography back then, and that's useless now because guess what? All the stock photos that you can get now are AI. In fact, the stock sites encourage AI. So you got to label it supposedly, but you know, it is what it is. And the person downloading the image, they don't care that it's AI because they're paying less for that image than they would have paid for a legit image. So there's that. You know, it lowers the value when everybody can do, if you know, a certain task and you saturate the market with that, the price that you can earn from that goes down. That's what might be happening to the game industry right now is all this low effort shit's coming out. It's lowering the value of good shit because you're competing with all of that. And like I said, you're all competing for the same thing, people's time and attention. And their money, obviously. But they're not going to give you that, a lot of it, if you're pumping out a product that'll only entertain them for like an hour. You know, it's not how you got to think in terms, what would I pay per hour to be entertained by a game? And that should dictate your pricing, you know, as a consumer. But I don't know. It's a whole lot to explore in that rabbit hole. As far as my future aspirations, I don't know. I just know I'm excited about making games again right now. I'm excited about getting back into my 3D graphics. And I'm going to continue to see how AI is integrated into my workflow and how it can save me time because I have a benchmark, a frame of reference on how long these things used to take me when I've made attempts at this in the past. You know, when it's just me, my 3D skills, and my camera that made all the art assets for a game. And on top of that, having to learn to code. Music used to not be good at it, or at least not good enough to put it in my game. Now I'm good enough at it to put it in my game. So if anything, I have tons of tracks that have been non-published anywhere that I can just throw in my games as I see fit that are already made at this point. And because I made them, guess what? They're mine. But and also I have had some of my music. The game Capes contacted me a while back. They purchased some of the royalty-free music I had posted on. I forget what the name of the site was. I'm still on there. I haven't received anything from them in a long time, but it was one of those sites where you can sell your stuff royalty-free. And I was doing that with music for a while till I figured out that was overrun with AI now. Which drives the value of all your tracks down, so on and so forth, and you're trying to float in a sea of floaties. But yeah, they had licensed, I think, 3 of my tracks. They wanted to make a soundtrack for their game. I don't know if they ever got around to it, but they were going to buy out my tracks. So that's buy the rights to be able to sell directly just the music, as opposed to putting it in just to having it as playing in the background of a video game. But yeah, supposedly 3 of my tracks were used in the Capes game. I don't know if it all made it to the final cut, as I haven't played that game. But that really stoked my music skills at the time when I got that, offer to buy me out on those tracks. I'm like, yeah, I'll sell you my rights on those songs, no problem. But like I said, they never got back to me on that, so maybe they just did it anyway and didn't tell me. I haven't looked. Honestly, I don't care. I'm flattered that they used my music. And they paid for the music. They paid the site the royalties for the music. Or not the royalties. They purchased the music from the site. So they paid me for it. And I got that money from it. But I don't get royalties because it's royalty free. And if they sell 1 million copies with my song in it, then guess what? I don't get anything for that. They already paid me. They pay you up front in royalty-free world. So, and that's the other thing that if I do develop some of my own assets, I can still sell those on the side. But once again, that's a market that's not reliable because of AI now, And I haven't really delved into the 3D AI space right now to see where we're at with it, see if it's improved. Because the last time I looked at it, the textures and the topology of the 3D models were ridiculously bad. So, but that's my thoughts on AI. It's going to change everything. It's already changing everything. Um, and I'm trying to figure out how to use it to my advantage instead of being stepped on by it. And I feel like a lot of people are getting stepped on by it. And whining and crying on social media about being stepped on by AI isn't going to even slow down these corporations from pushing it forward. They are on a mission, and the mission doesn't involve you. Now, if you've been watching the Gamer Nexus channel at all, which I recommend, by the way, he's doing a whole expose on AI and Palantir and how AI surveillance is affecting you. So when you walk into a store now, a lot of those stores have tons of cameras everywhere. There's not some dickhead getting paid $17 an hour to stare at those cameras. Those cameras are being monitored by AI. And then that AI is then forwarded to Palantir in a lot of cases, which is an AI surveillance company that does business with the government and military, remember the old days when everybody was like, what about 5G, bro? Oh, we're so much further than 5G. You literally are being watched from the moment you leave your house. If you have one of those handy ring cams or whatever that's putting it all out on the cloud, it's somewhere in that fine print. I guarantee you they have access to that. And the reason why you know that is because law enforcement can get access to a lot of that a lot of times by going directly to the company and not necessarily to the person who owns the ring cam. But they can literally watch and not only watch you, the AI watches you, and it documents it. It creates a profile. It can tell who you vote for. It could tell what bumper stickers are on your car. It could tell what you bought while you were in the store. It could tell how much money you have. It could tell what you spend. All of this is in place right now. If you don't fucking believe me, just do your homework. Ask AI, hey, is there a lot of AI surveillance when I leave my house? And not to mention, we all carry with us the AI surveillance tool of choice, which is the smartphone. But leaving that aside, like if you were to leave your smartphone at home, they'd still be able to track your movement, who you talk to, who you stand with, who you're near, who you associate with. They're even using it in some countries as pre-crime. They, like Minority Report, that kind of thing, only instead of a psychic in a little pool of fucking slime, they got the fucking AI being used. Although Palantir's downplaying that. We don't know, there's no predictive law enforcement going on. Well, yeah, it is. And it's been documented. And you can find out all of this. Just go to Gamer Nexus's channel. That'll be like the first step into that rabbit hole. But I can tell you that I've seen it with my own eyes. I know what's going on. The only way around it is to be somewhere where there's no cameras, like the wilderness or something. Or maybe don't leave your house and put your phone in a Faraday cage when you're home. Other than that, you're not escaping it. It knows where you are. It knows you're home when you're home. And all of that data is being put into those data centers that have made your electric bill triple in price, that are going to cause brownouts over the next fucking summer because we didn't build enough infrastructure to support all the data centers they're building now. These are all things that are just, it's too dystopian for me to be immersed in. And that's why the other reason I'm leaning into this game dev shit is to take my brain out of that, to basically unplug from that. Because if I think about that, it's depressing. And it's miserable. And I don't want that to dominate my shit. So, I got one more week here in Canada, and then I go back to doing deliveries, which is how I pay for my semi-retired lifestyle right now. But I'm trying to learn some skills that maybe can take me out of that delivery vehicle and put me into a laptop where I stare at it all the time in a chair. Yeah. Sounds like retirement, right? As long as I enjoy it, right? And I do enjoy doing these things. That's the thing. It's not just it's not just to try and make money. It's I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the creativity of it. Like I love that I put that together over the weekend, even though it's 60% AI, 70% AI. And I'm learning a lot with AI. Like the AI is teaching me how to code, essentially. Because when I come up with a problem, it gives me the solution and tells me why. It doesn't just say, here it is, go do that. It's not like a set of instructions. It then summarizes why or what each piece of code it gives me does and that kind of shit. That is valuable. That is worth paying for. You know, I don't know. I do know that everything is changing just because of AI. Pretty soon you won't have a boss anymore because the AI will be keeping an eye on you, kind of like what happens already at Amazon. Um, you know, you're going to have AI bosses. And if the AI boss decides you didn't click your mouse enough times, guess what? You're going to go home with a box in your hand of all your shit that you brought to work. If you take a 10-minute piss break instead of a 5-minute piss break, guess what? The AI is going to be all over your ass. If you're a truck driver, oh yeah, look out. You were worried about self-driving trucks? That's the least of your fucking problems. You already got cameras with AI in them in some companies with inward-facing cameras, and the AI is watching that camera. And it's alerting you whenever you're like, you look away from the road, or if you reach down to touch the radio dial or whatever. Don't even look at your phone funny. And guess what? It's your boss. It's telling you, the safety department, hey, he sucks. He's going to crash. And then they may or may not act on that information. At the very least, you won't get a safety bonus. But look for that to increase. More and more AI supervision. Big Brother, 1984, total documentary. Not a fucking, you know, it's not a fictional movie. It's our future. It's what it's happening. Big Brother always watching. Only your Big Brother is AI. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm just amazed in the time span since I made that video. You go back and find that old video about how scary and how impressed and jaw dropping it was for me for this thing to make retarded pictures with 7 fingers doing weird shit, or have, being able to put my imagination into words and then get visuals from it, which is an art form of itself. And to where we are now, where they're talking about AI that's going to be like a Star Trek computer you can talk to. Computer, can you please show me the hub site, please? Time for me to goon. And the computer will just do it, and it will watch you while you do that. That's fun, right? All right, on that note, please like and subscribe for more shit. And I'll make more shit. If you like my content and want to support me to make more content and have time to make more content, obviously my time's limited by certain things, please become a channel member. I know I tell you not to have any subscriptions, but hey, that's for big corporations. Fuck them. Us little people, we actually appreciate your subscription. So I had to postpone the releasing of my Who I Work For video, which was going to be a members only video coming up. So if you're not a member yet, you haven't missed out. But I will be posting a video talking about my last 14 years for the company I worked for. 13 years. The 13 or 14? I don't know. It's all the same. And reveal the name and what I think has happened and all of that kind of stuff. So that's coming up for my members only. So And it's like buy me a coffee is enough of a membership to do that, even though it's a pre-inflation price of coffee. If I was really being honest about buy me a coffee tier, I'd have made it like $7 right now, wouldn't it? So, but please be a member. That lets YouTube know that you like my channel, and maybe the AI won't delete me at that point because YouTube likes revenue and they take 30%, so it's all good, right? I'm going to go back to learning how to code. It's what they told me years ago to do, but of course, like everything else, I'm late to the party. And I will say, I have not missed Windows 1 ounce, and I'm doing a lot of intensive shit on my Linux machine. My Linux is what I'm using to code, by the way. I'm running my Godot on there, I'm running Blender on there, I'm running GIMP for image editing, and video editing I still do on Mac just because I paid for the license for DaVinci and I don't have another one to put on Linux, or I would, just to test it out anyway, and use the really good hardware. Not that the M5 is a slouch. I used to tell you to vote with your dollars I believed honestly that was the key to winning this battle, is if we all just vote with our spending and our time. Obviously, if you don't give the AI companies your time, then you are not supporting that. But I can tell you it won't matter because most people are giving their time to AI again. Not everybody, but enough that they are continuing to pursue it as if it's the end all be all of civilization. And if we aren't on the top of that fucking pyramid scheme, then we'll be at the bottom under China or something. Don't sell your AI slop. By AI slop, something that you typed a prompt, you got something back, and then you just say, here you go, it's my AI slop. I have my AI third eye channel. That AI third eye channel uses a lot of AI video that I typed in to come to kind of a theme and to do what I wanted to do, plus myself. My own image is in there. I trained it on me. I wasn't being a hypocrite and using tons of other people that were pulled from tons of people or inspired by a celebrity image, which seems to be the popular AI slop nowadays. Um, but a lot of the music is my original music. And if it is an AI track, like the ones with singing in it, I did the actual melody and the beat, and I put that into AI, and then let the other things be filled in. So work with AI. Don't use it to do everything. That's, I guess, the bottom line. Don't use it for, leave some humanity in there somewhere. Don't be a lazy fuck when it comes to AI. That's what I'm saying. And that game I made, that wasn't a lazy fuck thing. That was good 30 hours of development, 35 hours maybe. Just for that game, not to mention the time I'm spending on tutorials and other things. So, yeah. It's not like it made it like there was no work, but it did amplify. And that's what it should be. That's what AI should be used for, is to just amplify productivity from a human. And it should not replace creativity. In fact, I think AI, generative AI, as far as video, images, and music, can be used collaboratively with a human. For example, putting beats that I make or music that I make into the AI and having it fill in some gaps that I otherwise would have had to hire a singer, which I'm not a great singer, or a songwriter, those kinds of things. I write a lot of the lyrics for the AI tracks I've put out, but there's a bit of my humor or a bit of my creativity in the AI shit that I put out, you know. So, and I don't have to pay somebody to make thumbnails. So, because I pay a subscription of 30 a month, and in that I can make the thumbnails. See, one of the last subscriptions I have is to AI. So I don't know if that makes me a fucking hypocrite or what, but we'll see. Have a nice motherfucking day and shit, and a Merry Christmas. And as far as the year goes, because I know a lot of people do a year in review, I'm not doing that this year because this year sucked. I lost Steve this year. You know, it's hasn't been a good year, and I'd like to leave it behind me. Will 2026 be better? Probably not. I mean, I'm just being honest. Have a nice motherfucking day and shit.